Give yourself into reading. The man who never reads will never be read, and he who never quotes will never be quoted. He who will not use the thoughts of other men's brains proves that he has no brains of his own. You need to read. Charles Haddon Spurgeon. The Philosopher in the Class, a documentary film about the life of Jezreel Madsa. For over the past centuries, the folios of history record the great minds that are known for being in themselves voracious readers. Reading has had a tremendous amount of benefits which alone shapes the unlearned person to be wise and makes the simple tones understands the complexity of life as what it is. It is through the reading of books that enables one to be at par, so to speak, with the erudition of the legends. It is by means of reading books that reality sheds its light into many different slants. And it is by virtue of reading books that one reaches atop the shoulder of the giants and beholds the grandeur of the universe through their very own eyes. The significance of reading books cannot be undervalued, nor can it be overstated. Talisay City College, on the other hand, although allocated a budget for books by the current administration, only a few, however, have a huge interest into reading books. Not knowing that books are the depository of wisdom through which intellectuals handed their impeccable thoughts into writing. Education can never materialize without eliciting from the treasures of facts, knowledge, and content within the storehouse of books written by great scholars and philosophers. All teachers, therefore, must be good readers, for one cannot teach what he does not know, and one cannot know comprehensively apart from reading books. Book reading must be treasured by every student in Talisay City College. As the great Mortimer Adler says, the great authors were great readers, and one way to understand them is to read the books they read.
Good afternoon. Well, I think the students are visiting the library just because they would want to do their school stuffs inside an air-conditioned room. Unfortunately, they aren't using the library's resources. That's why it disappoints me at some point. However, I'd still greatly encourage our TCC students to visit the library and utilize our library's resources because knowledge is free at the library. And I'm just glad that we have a very supportive administrators because what a school thinks about its library is a measure of what it feels about education. Thank you.
Jezreel Madsa, a third-year BS Ed English student, is known in the class for being critical, brave, intelligent, and a reader of philosophical and theological books. He is dubbed as a philosopher in the class, for he always questions those who make unsubstantiated claims. He is a practical logician and one of the most excellent students in Talisay City College. He always expresses his own opinion and stands by it. Even if the majority is in opposition to his stance, he speaks with authority and is driven with logical reasoning. Truly, he is by all means not just a bookworm, but a book savvy, for he does not merely read a book by obligation, rather he delightfully savors almost every line and every paragraph that the book yields. Indeed, the years he spent in reading books has shaped his personality and intellectual bent. He abhors fallacy-riddled arguments and inconsistencies, for he is an objective person and a student who minces no words but calls a spade a spade. That is Jezreel.
Si Kuya Jezreel, in the classroom, we considered him as the philosopher in the class. He really wants to argue, he keeps on questioning, and in fact, he influences me, especially to read many books, like academic readings and many more. He is really a good model to us, especially English majors, because we as English majors, we have to read and read and read and study and study and study. So I am very thankful I have met Kuya Jezreel as my classmate because he served as also my mentor. Thank you.
My comment on Brother Jess is that he is such an amazing student. He is so fond of reading, and his presence can encourage all of his classmates to study more and read more. I began to love reading because of his influence.
Jezreel Madsa, all I can say to him is that he is such an amazing student. He is so fond of reading books, and his presence can encourage all of his classmates to study more and read more. I began to love reading, I should say, because of his influence.
Jezreel is also an excellent motivator in the class. He always shares his knowledge from the books he has read, and he manages to create an intellectual atmosphere within the class, thereby making the students become positive and interested with ideas and academic knowledge. He is, in brief, a catalyst of intellectual pursuit. But with all the glories that shine through his life in the present time, there lies a gloomy past that shrouded the other facets of his life.
Back from childhood, when I was a little kid, contrary to what most people imagine what myself was in the past, I actually did not live with my mom and dad. I did not grow up with them. Rather, I lived with my uncle. The reason of that because my mom and dad got separated together, and I didn't find myself comfortable to live with my mom, neither with my dad. So eventually, I lived with my uncle, and I worked there as a working student. But sad to say, my uncle was a drug addict, and I was deeply affected with it because every time he gets drunk, he goes to my room and then punch me along with his wife. So that's one of the most immense problem that I faced in the past, and I haven't concentrated my study back in high school. And as a result of that, I joined gangsters, fraternities, and the likes. And as what you can see in my grades, I only got 78, 77. Those are the grades that I had during the high school. And it was very terrible. And I could never imagine that my life, if I'm going to look back in the past, my life would have to be different than I am today. And it's all by the grace of God that I changed my directions. And even if you have a kind of life that is so gloomy and dark, You see, God is able to put a light on it and then, illumine you with His grace and make you a different person than what you were in the past. Well, I think it started all when I met my ex-girlfriend. Actually, she was the one who encouraged me to read different kinds of books because she herself was a reader. And I somehow realized that time that if I get myself to read different kinds of books, my vocabularies will get enriched, and my philosophical abilities as well in terms of reasoning would also be enhanced. So I believe that our wit and philosophies are ways to impress the girl, and that's what exactly I did to impress my ex-girlfriend. And I never had thought that I would improve in different kinds of areas in academics, but it was truly a miracle from God that the moment I read different kinds of works and different kinds of books, I became intellectual, and at the same time I also learned to discipline myself to get the moralities out from the book that I've read, especially the Bible and also theological books. Those have helped me to shape my personality, so to say. Thank you.
For Jezreel, it was book reading that enables him to change his perspectives and makes him reach his maturity not only in knowledge but also on how to govern his life. He has given plenty of contributions, in effect, for me as an English class in particular, and in the Lisay City College in general. He became the former president of Civic Welfare Training Service, CWTS, 2014 to 2015. He was also the former president of Ecumenical Students Organization, ESO, 2014 to 2016. He is also the current vice president of the English Aristocrats Club and a general editor at bsedenglishtcc.blogspot.com. He is also an outstanding scholar of PLDT Smart Gabay Guro Scholarship and a former assistant organizer and sub-speaker of English Language Strategy Seminar and Literary Criticism Seminar. And he became the third placer of the Language Literature Quiz Bowl competition at Cebu Normal University.
Jezreel may have had a dark and gloomy past, but by virtue of his love for reading, he was able to surmount the negative facade of his life. He has developed himself and ultimately transformed into a different individual. For sure, anyone who accentuates the significance of reading would become as good or maybe as better than the subject of this documentary.